Because what we're saying here is that our original design was to be in flow.
Well, that you're in that flow state, right? With
maybe singing or music or
sports
or art.
or like you said, visiting. Sometimes you're just with the right person, and time just goes, and everything is just, and then it stops.
Right, and we're not sure how we kind of stumbled into that kind of open, connected, deeply rooted space.
Yeah.
I noticed it with my meditation practice, right? There would be times I'd do my meditation and I would feel that.
Yeah.
And then lots of times that I didn't. And I didn't really know what was different.
Normalized natural state of being is to be in that flow state. And the things that keep us from being in that flow state are what we need to work with.
Which was a revolutionary idea when Texas told me this, that flow was our natural state, because I was always taught in psychology that there are these things called peak experiences, right? Where you have this, wow, wondrous, incredible, you call it like a Christmas morning experience. Yeah. And then you come back to earth and then you go through the humdrum of your regular life, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that that could be the way that we live kind of messed with me a bit. I'm like, but how is that possible? Because that's a peak experience that only happens sometimes.
Right. And this is really great when you're working with clients, because if you start to introduce them to the possibility, when you have the training to say, I can be there and so can you, and it's a predictable, repeatable pathway back to that place, that's good news.
Because what we're saying here is that our original design was to be in flow. That our original design was actually to be open and connected and plugged in and tuned in and grounded. And I mean, really little children, they're kind of like that, right? Before life kind of gets in the way, that's our natural state. Mm-hmm. There's only two states.
Of being two.
There's only two. So this is one, right? Which is the misaligned state, which is where we're kind of contracted and we're in our survival mechanisms. And then we can actually move out of that state to this other state, which is what we call the aligned state. You're actually showing up in a new way of being. And then that presence informs your client.
Exactly.
Which is very different than, say, if you were to take a course in CBT or narrative therapy or, any sort of other therapeutic modality around mental health. It's kind of conceptual, right? So you can learn the concepts, but you don't actually have to necessarily integrate them in your own life.
But this is where it really is cool. If you do this work, it is work. It doesn't matter. The delivery mechanism doesn't really matter.
Okay, can you say more about that? Yes. This is really important.
So if you're a cognitive therapist, this will augment it.
Absolutely.
Right? If you have narrative therapy, this will augment it.
If you're a massage therapist, this will augment it.
Because
if you're a coach or a social worker, anybody who's working with people in pain.
And actually the word augment is wrong. It will transform it. If you do this, if you do this work, and if you're curious, ask the questions, but we see absolutely miraculous things happen so quickly. So we got really excited about this. If we can normalize actually being the whole person and not having it broke down.
Right, the fractured kind of approach that mainstream medicine takes.
Then we can actually help people really, really heal and go beyond healing to actually expansion.
Mm-hmm. To living that like full, rich, vibrant life, right? That's not just okay. That's not just good enough or managing, but actually this rich life where your inner guidance takes you to your next thing.
Well, it is transformational, that's for sure. And for me, it was life-changing doing this work. It's very simple, but it is work. And that was the piece that took a little bit of time for my logical brain to get a hold of. Can't be this easy. And it's like, well, no, it's not easy. It's simple. But the shifts that I get to see within clients is miraculous, is absolutely amazing. And the things that get released and can come through, is literally life-changing, and it excites me that this is rolling out, because I feel like it's very, very, very important, because the model that I have worked under and been a client under just doesn't look at the whole human, right? It doesn't look at the whole human experience, and that's what I love about this, is that it satisfies my brain, and it also satisfies that knowing inside of me that there's something more.
This type of healing for me really highlighted the fact that I didn't have to try and fix my problems. There were definitely issues going on with my life, that I'd been to therapy before, traditional therapies before, and this offered me a different approach, to see myself as a whole person, not as pieces of broken bits.
A lot of my clients have been people who are burnt out from doing therapy.
Yes, a lot of your clients.
A lot of
yes.
my clients. And I'm like, wow, because I didn't know that was a thing.
Because you don't get burnt out.
Right.
And I was like, how does that work?
So we have answers for that. Even if that's your motivating factor going, I would love to be able to love my work again.
Mm-hmm.
Then this will do that if you do this work. Guaranteed.
Yes. If we think about other therapeutic modalities, whether it's CBT or ACT or IFS is the internal family systems, or ACT is acceptance and commitment therapy, these all started with practitioners who were like, oh, something that we're doing with people is really working, right? And then starting to get some research around that and some data around that. And so we're in the groundswell stage where it's like something is really working, and we didn't want to wait 5 years to get all the data and then present it, because we know how profoundly impactful this modality is, and we didn't want to wait. And Monique's written a book called The How, which kind of frames out some of what we're doing.
Really well.
She has a whole chapter on advanced consciousness therapy, and the rest of the chapters are about the whole philosophy of
And the science
and the presence protocol. So we're moving fast, faster than most people would move, but we're being bold, and we're saying like this could actually change the face of mental health work.
Yeah. So you've been outing it. So I don't know if you guys...
I've been making some bold statements.
Yeah.
Check out our YouTube channel, Expansion Now. We've made some videos in there where we actually talk about some things that most therapists don't talk about, right? Which is the very premise of counseling psychology in the Western context is perhaps fundamentally flawed, because we're positioning ourselves as experts on other people's lives, which is it's actually quite a colonialist approach.
Yeah.
Right. And so a big part of this work is decolonizing the helper receiver of help relationship, right? And equalizing that experience, and understanding that knowledge doesn't just come from books and universities, that there's other access to knowledge that we have.
And maybe the person that's there has the answer, right? And if we liberate that really changes things. So what we're seeing in these huge transformations with people comes from the fact that we're not being afraid to challenge the status quo.
And we're telling people, you already have your answers, right? Our job is to help you kind of quiet the noise so you can hear yourself again.
That's a good way to put it.
Right? And first we do that for ourselves as practitioners.
Right.
First we know what that feels like in our body, mind, spirit mechanism before we offer that to anybody else. Because people feel it, right? People feel it when we're not quite lined up. Right. And that's an energy thing. That's not something we can necessarily
quantify.
Yeah.